G'day guys, if you're keen on fishing, exploring your Aussie waterways, or just upgrading your kayak fishing game for this year, look no further than this video. We're going to jump into the used market with a review on the 2018 Hobie Passport 12. Hobie's Passport 12 was a addition to their range to help the budget-friendly fisher jump into a pedal drive game without spending $5,000 plus on a different model. So it's 12 foot long, nice, good, well-rounded length, and a stable unit, really good kayak with basically upgradability to the wazoo. So you can do a lot with this kayak. It's pretty much a blank canvas from when you buy it. A lot of upgradability in them, which is great in any kayaks. Everyone has different needs, and there's plenty of space for all that sort of stuff. It was first released, the first released models were coming out with just a standard MirageDrive, and shortly after that they went to a GT drive, which has got the kick-up fin, so it's just a single forward propelling drive unit with kick-up fin. So if you're getting into shallow areas and or you're fishing the rivers and stuff like that, the GT drive really comes into its own, where it'll kick up and get out of the way of snaggy areas, and won't bend your drive or break your drive and stuff like that while you're out in the water. Just a handy addition and an upgrade in that model as well. Something to look out for in the used market when you're buying one. The advantages of a pedal drive system are well documented by now. Obviously a way more efficient system. It propels you a lot easier with a lot less effort. You have your hands free, of course, which is a massive advantage to fishing people, anglers alike. You want to be able to be casting, especially river and inshore stuff, when you're like peppering a snaggy edge or something like that, and you just want to hold yourself up in a position. You're sort of using the pedals against the tide or the wind or whatever, and you're sitting in a position where you can just continually cast as you come up a bank or an edge. Rivers are fairly much the same. You can put yourself in a position where you're sitting against the current, pedaling. Obviously it looks like you're treading water essentially, so the kayak's going to sit in one position and you're able to cast into an area. I use a paddle kayak predominantly myself, so the advantages of that well observed from my sharing the water with other people that use Hobies, and it's just such a great addition to be able to have that advantage. Makes it a lot easier to present lures and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the advantages are very clear in that one. As I led in before, the upgradability or the customization ability of this kayak is quite expansive. You've got a round hatch at the front that you can upgrade to a square hatch if you want to. You can move the round hatch to the front of the kayak, which is basically a blank canvas. There's nothing on there other than a space where you can put a round hatch, and obviously you can put tackle trays and buckets and things like that in those. It makes them a lot more functional that way. Adds to the storage. Adding a crate to the kayak as well is something that I would definitely recommend. I run a crate on my paddle kayak or the Hobie when I've been using it, and it's just great. Keeps the rods in a vertical position, so you're not worried about them sticking out like outriggers on those side rod holders that basically it just means you're going to catch every tree on the way past. You do have to be mindful about your overhead casting though when you are casting with vertical rods behind you, but typically speaking you're most of the time getting out of trouble every other sense. So you're trying to compare similar type price point used kayaks together. The Passport will come in lighter than most of the same kind of models in terms of competitor market. So these are at about 33 kilograms, so they're quite a lot lighter than most other kayaks that are out there in the same price point. So it makes them very easily usable for roof-topping, and just general solo maneuvering. If you're a solo guy and you want to be able to move this thing, portaging, obviously a lighter kayak, a smaller kayak is always going to be an advantage over a larger one. But with this 12 foot 33 kilo thing, I've done some portaging myself with this kayak, and it is marginally more difficult than my 10 foot paddle kayak, so can't really lose there. Rudder control is another one. So this rudder is quite large. It's pretty much directly joined onto a like a a flexible bar, so there's nearly no lag in the way that it operates, and it's very efficient. So for a relatively large kayak, it is actually very, very nimble, and it moves quickly when you want to steer, put steering input into it. So it turns fast, and yeah, it's very efficient in that regard. Now, when considering buying one, obviously I would suggest you still have a good look over the kayak and make sure it hasn't got any damage that's damning to the overall usability of the kayak. You know, look for where it's been potentially tied down a little too tight. We know that these poly style kayaks, if you tie them down tight, they go softer in sun and heat, so you can tie them down really tight, and when they try to expand, they tend to crack sometimes when you're not careful. So just look for those sorts of things, or any evidence of, you know, basically just rough use, that sort of stuff. Look for big gouges and things like that, with wear and tear on them as well. If you have a look underneath where the drive hole is and where the scupper holes are, you've got to check out those things for cracks and things like that, just because when they get rubbed up over rocks and over other, you know, bits of bank and stuff like that, they tend to develop holes and things like that. So yeah, just be mindful of that when you go to purchase. The drive system from Hobie is pretty straightforward in regards to this model. It's either got the standard MirageDrive, which is tried and true, very easily serviceable, plenty of spare parts available. The GT drive, not much different. They've both been models that have been out for a long time, so there's plenty of parts available for them, and Hobie support in Australia is pretty much second to none. They're very, very good in regards to that. So yeah, whether it's your locals, local tackle shops. I know Anaconda are stocking Hobie now, so that's one of the major retailers that are now stocking Hobie for you, but you've got your other smaller private guys like SL Hobie here in Mornington, and what's the other one? I'm trying to think of another one out. I think they're out East Gippsland way. But yeah, that is one thing to consider if you're buying used kayaks. Sometimes they're imported, they don't have parts, you can't find them, and then by the time the drive breaks, you can't upgrade anything, and then you're stuck buying another kayak or buying another drive completely. So in summary, the 2018 Hobie Passport 12 is a great market option for you to jump into the pedal powered kayak world, with whether you're, you know, chasing flathead on the flats out in Gippy, or chasing some bass in the rivers, or whatever it may be. This is definitely a kayak you should consider. For the price point, I think you are getting a lot for your money, and plenty of upgradability as well, as I said, and lots of support with parts and availability for that stuff. So check it out, and we'll see you on the water. Quick last kicker, guys. If you would like the chance to win the kayak I've been using for this review, a 2018 Hobie Passport 12 in seagrass green, jump over to luredinfishing.com, where you can find details on how to win that little bugger.